Good evening, parents, students, guardians. Welcome back to my channel, Strategies with Ms. Safford. Today is Tuesday, September 17th, so your scholars should have received a new homework packet yesterday, the 16th. So I know the last time I dropped the video, I talked a lot about ELA, specifically for phonics. And I know I wanted to alternate every week math, ELA, math, ELA. However, since we're still in the math measuring unit, so those tips from the previous video still stand, I decided I was going to jump into a different part of ELA today, something that we do in class called close reading. So close reading or interactive read aloud, it's literally what it sounds like. The teachers, either myself or Ms. Braverman, we read to your scholars aloud as you're sitting on the carpet. And then after we read it the first time, we stop and then we ask them questions about what we just read. So I'm going to model with a homework assignment what that would look like when you're doing close reading at home, or if you're just looking for strategies for your scholar to do better at reading comprehension. I think that these close reading strategies will also help. I'm going to use a homework from the week of September 3rd just as a model for what we're doing. And if you look on the homework packets, you'll see right here this close reading section that has all the information about a narrative, which I will refer to as a fiction text, about a informational, which I will refer to as a nonfiction text, and poetry. So anytime I reference what you should be thinking about for a narrative, or if I say the word genre frames, that just means, is it fiction? Is it nonfiction? Is it poetry? And how do you know? So the text that I'm going to start with in this article, or in this homework packet rather, the title of the text is Why Do We Need Rules? So when we're doing close reading, the very first thing that we want scholars to do is to preview the text. What that means is we want them to look at the story, look at the title, look at the words and the text features, and figure out, is this fiction, which is a story that's about something that's not real? Is this nonfiction, which is a story that's either a biography or you're learning something about a topic? Or is this a poem? So I want you to listen to what I'm thinking about, because these are the things that we want to make sure that your scholars are pulling out. Why do we need rules? When I look at the paper, I see that this looks like a real photograph. And I know that nonfiction stories or informational texts usually have real photographs. I also noticed that as I'm reading, I'm learning about rules. There are no characters and there is no problem. So this is a nonfiction text. I want you to pause the video here and discuss with your child how I, Ms. Safford, knew that this was a nonfiction text. What your child should have said is, Ms. Safford knew this was nonfiction because the picture is a real photograph, and nonfiction texts usually have a real photograph. Also, there were no characters, and there was no problem, and there was no solution. There's no story here. I'm learning about something. And based on the title, I'm learning about why we need rules. So every time that your scholar gets a new text to read for homework, the very first thing that you should be looking for is if they are able to identify the genre and if they're able to figure out how they know that it's that genre. It's a really short text, so I'm actually going to read it out loud, and I'm also going to show you what we would do in close reading and what are some things that you can do at home. Why do we need rules? It may seem like there are a lot of rules, but rules are important. There are rules everywhere. There are rules at home. There are rules at school. There are rules at the park. What am I learning about so far from this paragraph? Pause the video here and ask your scholar. Your scholar should say something to the effect of, we're learning that there are rules, we're learning that rules are everywhere, and we're learning that rules are important. As we read in close reading, what your teachers or what your scholars' teachers will do is read a section, stop, and then have your scholars, just like what you did with your scholars, have them answer questions based on what they just read. Normally, your scholars will have the text also, but because of we're doing this for a practice, you'll just have to listen and repeat or answer the questions based on the information that I read. I'm going to keep reading. Why do we need rules? Rules keep us safe. Without rules, children could run in the hallway. That would not be safe. Someone might get hurt. Now I want you to pause the video here and answer with your child, what information did the author teach us in this second paragraph? What your scholars should have said was, this second paragraph is teaching us why we need the rules. So the first paragraph is teaching us that rules are important, and the second paragraph is teaching us why these rules are important. I'm going to continue on and read the third paragraph, and then I'm going to stop and ask another question that you and your scholar can discuss. Rules keep things fair. Without rules, a friend might not get a turn in a game. That would not be fair. Without rules, the world would not be safe or fair. At this last point, I want you to pause the video and ask your child, why do they think the author wrote this text? Here are some possible answers for what your child might have said for why the author wrote this text. To teach us about rules, to teach us why rules are important, and to teach us what the purpose of rules are. So what do rules do? If your child was able to answer those questions, then they have led into the main idea jot. A main idea jot is something that we haven't really mastered yet in our classroom, but that's okay. It's still the beginning of the school year, and we started close reading only about a week ago. So I'm going to model what a main idea should look like, especially for this type of text. This is a nonfiction text or an informational text, so I'm going to